Welcome back from lunch. The panel we have picks up from the past. In the previous panel, we understood that while there are many commodities in our region, as Harish Manawani shared with us, in particular spotlight was palm oil. And we were very lucky to have three representatives of palm oil on that panel. This discussion, in a way, is a non-palm oil panel. They are also, however, in the resource sector. They are also, in a sense, in that context of the challenges of making it sustainable. And I should bear in mind that while palm oil companies are often mentioned in terms of the haze, some figures suggest that only 20% of the fires are on palm oil concessions. Another 27% are actually on forestry concessions. And then an even larger number, 40+%, are areas outside any concession. So even if you're interested in the haze, it would go beyond palm oil. And if you're interested in sustainability, which is of course a broader idea, these issues matter to other resource and commodities. So very pleased to have the three panelists with us. And if I could just start first with General Bay from April, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first thank the Singapore Institute of International Affairs for putting together this event and for bringing us all together to discuss such a critical issue. You know, we are living in very exciting times here in the ASEAN region. ASEAN is enjoying a golden period with bullish growth and resilient economies. According to IMF, the average gross domestic product in ASEAN has more than doubled from US 918 billion in 2005 to US 2.5 trillion in 2013. Add to that impressive rate of growth is the trend that businesses are now setting up new manufacturing facilities in developing countries in the region as China becomes more expensive for them. Yet as ASEAN rides on this wave of economic growth and opportunities, many developing nations that make up this region are still evolving. They continue to face various internal social and land development issues. How the businesses resolve these issues in a responsible manner will be critical to the sustainability of ASEAN's future. Allow me to elaborate by focusing on Indonesia, which is a country that April operates in. From a GDP of about 80 billion US dollars in 1980, Indonesia's economy has expanded rapidly to 870 billion US dollars in 2012. By 2030, Indonesia is forecasted to become the 7th largest economy in the world with a GDP of US $2.9 trillion. Even as its economy grows, the population size continues to expand. It is now the 4th largest country in the world, with its population estimated to be at 253 million this year. By 2050, it is expected to hit a staggering 288 million. Then there's also a huge income gap within the country. Close to 30 million Indonesians are still living below the poverty line. This number is equivalent to the population of Malaysia. These population challenges and growth opportunities creates tremendous pressures for Indonesia to develop its land and natural resources. From our experience, land left unmanaged is very often encroached by expanding communities who settle on their land, the land. They burn the forest to clear land for agriculture and build their homes. One such experience was when April donated 40,000 hectares of high-quality forest to a national park in Riau in the early 2000s. After 10 years, 75% of the national park is now illegally converted into palm oil plantation by encroachers. Compare this to the way April had managed its land concessions in a responsible and sustainable way. Since 2005, April became the first Indonesian company to implement moratorium to stop conversion of the concession until completion of the High Conservation Value Forest Assessment based on the Indonesian High Conservation Value Toolkit, which was worked out with many stakeholders, including NGOs. Once that is done, the high conservation areas are protected and the rest of concessions are then reforested into plantation. We also encourage our supply partners to do likewise. To date, APRA and our supply partners have protected 250,000 hectares of the conservation areas, which adds to the Indonesian total forest area that the government has set aside just for conservation. Even as we reforested our concession into plantations while protecting the HCV forests, we also planted 70,000 hectares of cash crops, including acacia for the community in and around our concessions, to give them a consistent income stream so as to negate the need for them to resort to illegal logging. Including land in our concessions set aside for community, essentially, APRA only plants and reforests 50% of our land concession. The other 50% is kept as conservation areas and land for the infrastructure and community. In terms of contribution to the community, APRA has invested $5 billion into the forestry and pulp and paper manufacturing facilities in Sumatra. This has created 90,000 jobs in the province of Riau. We have only 2% of land concession in Riau, but contribute close to 6% of the GDP in Riau. On top of the environmental efforts we have taken since 2005, APRA recently announced an enhanced sustainable forest management policy. There are 3 key features in this enhanced policy that shows our seriousness in what we do for sustainable development. The formation of an independent stakeholder advisory committee that will oversee the implementation of this sustainable policy. They will be responsible for supervising and monitoring APRA's progress in meeting the objectives set forth in the policy. The committee, which already had its first meeting in the month of April, provides a level of governance and transparency that is unrivaled in the industry. The second key feature is APRA will complete its own reforestation program by the end of the year. For our supply partners, we are now mandating a moratorium to their conversion program until their HCV assessment is completed. And lastly, a commitment to strive to conserve 1 hectare of high conservation value forest for every hectare of plantation that APRA owns. This includes restoration of unmanaged peatland, which had degraded rapidly due to indiscriminate illegal logging. An example of a forest restoration project that we are currently working on is called Restorasi Ekosistem Riau, or R&R in short. We are restoring over 20,000 hectares of a forest area in the Kampa Peninsula in Riau province, which has been degraded due to illegal logging and burning. Over the past year, we have done an extensive biodiversity survey, and we're starting the replanting exercise with one of our key partners, an international NGO called Fauna and Flora International, tomorrow. This sustainable policy is an ambitious one, but we see this commitment as an integral part of our sustainable forestry business. And we are delighted that it has received the endorsement of the Indonesian Forestry Minister. Let me touch now on the issue which we as Singaporeans are deeply concerned about. It is a transboundary haze issue. When forest fires, which started outside our land concessions, jump into our plantation, it destroys our inventory of trees, which is the essential raw material we need to make pulp and paper. Last year alone, our loss due to such fires is about $30 million. When a fire creates haze, our employees in the pulp and paper mill, and also those in our plantations, have to operate under these hazardous conditions. So APRA is also a victim of these forest fires. As such, we are very supportive of the efforts by the Indonesian and the Singapore government, including the Singapore Haze Bill and other similar measures to resolve the regional haze problem. On our part, APRA is taking initiative to contribute to those ongoing efforts to combat the haze problem. APRA has been collaborating closely with the public sector and non-government organizations on potential solutions. With reports that there will be a high likelihood of El Nino striking Southeast Asia in the middle of this year, we have also started engaging the local provincial government to implement measures to reduce forest fires that will cause haze pollution. APRA continues to ensure it is well prepared with comprehensive fire prevention, detection, and fighting teams. Apart from strict enforcement of our no-burn policy since we began forestry operations in the 1990s, we have heavily invested in manpower, training, and equipment, including helicopters with water bombing capability. At the same time, we engage the community regularly, not only to train firefighters, but also to educate farmers about alternative means of land clearance. APRA is also proactively communicating to the public by giving regular updates on the forest fire situation in Riau. We introduced an online service to track and report forest fires in its concession on the island of Sumatra. The reports are available through the company's blog, APRA's Dialogue. In summary, APRA operates on the basis that it is good for the company, what is good for the company can only be done only if we do what is good for the country and what is good for the community. As we continue running as sustainable businesses, we are committed to the imperatives of safeguarding the environment and looking after the interests of the local people. We hope that other businesses and the private sector at large will join us to bring about an impactful change and a meaningful progress for the sustainable development of this region. Thank you.
Thank you, General Lee. As I mentioned at the start of our dialogue, not only do we have pulp and paper, palm oil companies, we're also pleased to have other producers and other countries. And our next guest, Krisida, is from the Midpol company of Thailand, which is one of the major sugar producers, not only for the sugar in your tea or coffee, but also for the ethanol and as an energy supply. Krisida, please.
Thanks, Simon. Good afternoon. Because of it's an afternoon session, so my experience that it's difficult to draw attention from the attendance. So I will not present all the like a formal. So just to brief about my operation is better, and let the times for Q&A later. I think it should be the best. Last night that I was on the plane to Singapore, I have a chance to look at the topic today that is about sustainable world resource. This word sustainable remind me about in 1997 that there was a financial crisis around this region, and at that time I have a chance to visit one of the Netherlands bank, and that's my first time that I saw this word sustainable. The meaning is touch my heart and my thought. So I went back and share this word with my colleague, and at that time I think my management agreed that okay, I think sustainable, it will be more meaningful and help us for the long-term strategy and future development. So after that we developed the program that we call zero waste model in our company. As Simon said, that mainly we produce the sugar, so it's from sugar cane. At that time, we have a lot of bagasse pie left, and we have to burn it out with the inefficient equipment to get rid of them. So one of our colleagues think about that. If we can put it more efficiency equipment, we can generate more power, and we have the access power to sell to the grid. Luckily, that from that day until now, we produce about 400 megawatt. Half of them we use in our operation, and half of them we sell to the grid. 400 megawatt is equal to one dam, and I think this is the biggest power biomass cogeneration in ASEAN right now. Other thought is about the from our process. After crushing the sugar, we still have juice left that cannot burn to crystallize to sugar. We call it molasses. We produce after the process that we fermentation, it will be alcohol that we call the ethanol for fuel, not for drink. So right now we produce about 300 million liters of ethanol, and that can supply for the program for the renewable fuel for Thailand. Right now we have the flex fuel car for E85, and Thailand right now use about 3 million liters per day for ethanol. So that's some sample of our zero waste model. That I think that is one of the part of the sustainable thought. And if we talk about sustainable, it's not only there's many areas about sustainable, but today I will touch upon about the sustainable on the supply, which our key stakeholder, as I mentioned this morning, that I think CEO of Unilever talk about that no fish maker. So it's no sugar cane is no sugar producer as well. So for my business, farmer is our main key stakeholder. We have 180,000 contract farmers in our group. About 37,000 contract farmers in Thailand, and mainly is in China. It's about 140,000 contract farmers in China, and for almost the supply sugarcane that in our group is from contract farming. We have very little our own corporate farming. So they are quite very important for our business. But as you know that because they are very small whole farmer in Thailand, some hold just only 10 hectares for own the land, just only 10 hectares. In China, they own just only 2 hectares. And how can they survive? And they have no knowledge about this one, so they have low productivity, and surely if no low productivity is needed, low profitable and low income for them. So that's what we have to do to help them to increase their productivity, increase the yield. We think about that is somebody mentioned already this morning that it's unbelievable. Like in China, you don't have any arable land left especially for sugarcane. in Thailand as well. So if we would like to increase productivity, it means that we have to increase the yield on the existing land, not to expand land or to deforest to. So that's the way that we manage. And by the way, that okay. One thing that we help them, that we educate them about the best practice farming, and we invest because they lack of money, so we can finance them for the irrigation system and how to use a suitable fertilizer, how to improve the soil quality, to let them avoid for burn cane. Almost in Thailand right now, almost more than 60% of sugarcane is a burn cane. That you know that it will affect for the air pollution or climate change. So and for the future, right now we start to implement we call the modernized farm. It will help them to lower their costs and will help them to solve the problem of labor shortage, especially as someone may realize that our farmers just getting older and older every day, and young generation, they have no interest to do in the agriculture sector. They would like to go to the city and get the high wage and that's will have a concern about the food security or food supply for the our people in the future. So I think that this is the first thing that I would like to mention first, and I can share you if we have a Q&A later.
Thank you, Gunatrisa. The third panelist is not from a company or not from a producer. Rather, Busta is from Greenpeace, Indonesia. They have, however, besides protesting against companies, begun to work alongside those companies that are trying to turn towards sustainability. Mr. Please.
Thank you, Simon. It's my pleasure here sitting in the panel. As Simon was saying, I'm maybe the only person that's not coming from the company, but it's really often is challenging company to do more. I've been working with Greenpeace in the last 10 years. I'm starting Greenpeace in Indonesia in 2005 with main focus to protecting the remain forest in this region and starting from Indonesia. So Greenpeace in this region is, our campaign is not palm oil campaign or pulp and paper campaign. Our campaign is forest campaign. So it's really clear to protect forests. That's why also it's really clear that since the day one I'm run this campaign, I'm saying that Greenpeace position is not anti-industry, or it's not anti-palm oil, or it's not anti-pulp and paper. What we anti is deforestation. So it's clear. Yeah. Just to start with the discussion about the forest fire, because many people is talking about this fire. Forest fire is not as simple as fire when people see, oh, there is a fire, meaning someone is put the fire there and starting the fire. There is a history why is the fire is there. And somehow also because sometimes people see a fire is just a fire, the blame is really easy goes to the local people or small farmers. Because yes, they're using slash and burn for the small farming. And this is part of the traditional farming in the Southeast Asia for the longer generation, using a fire to clear their land and moving to other area. But why long time ago there is no forest fire? Or maybe there is a forest fire not as big as happening last year when the big haze come to Singapore. Forest fire or the haze come to Singapore is mostly coming from Sumatra, and the closest place of from here is Rio province. And if you look at closely, Rio province is mostly covering by a peatland. And if you don't know what is peatland is what you call it, is the material, the organic material, and actually in the natural situation is mostly covering by water, it's wet. So Rio province is covering mostly by the peatland. For the agricultural purposes, for the pulp and paper, for palm oil or other purposes, they need to drain the peatland. They need to build a canal to push the water level of peatland going down so they can start to using for the agricultural purposes. And when becomes dry season, peatland is very dry. Means it's very easy to burn, even with the cigarette button. So when the almost all of the peatland in Sumatra is dry, means there is a lot of fuel there can easily burn for the forest fire. So yes, community can start the fire, but who's preparing the fuel? Yes, government give the license for the company open the peatland. According to the Indonesian regulation, more than 3 meters deep of peatland is illegal, is forbidden to open. What is happening on the ground, even more than 3 meters deep peatland is using for the agricultural or industrial purposes. How or why? Because, I'm Indonesian and is sad to say this, we have a very lack of governance. Corruption is there. Who is give money? Of course, company. So there is a collaboration is happening here. I mean, it's not that simple. When this morning I hear a lot of people saying there is a need for the enforcement on the ground. Yes, I agree with that, but also corporation or business sector also should helping the government to enforce the law and not using the lack of the governance to make a profit. This is very important. Is this happen on the ground? Yes, I'm guarantee 100%. Other thing also I would like to say, I'm very happy this morning also before lunch that I hear from the previous panel 3 big company there, mostly involved in the palm oil business. From 3 of the company, at least 2 companies very clear saying about what is sustainability means. First, no deforestation. First, no peatland. First is socially responsible, or according to the Wilmar policy, no exploitation. It's very clear, which is one of them, the biggest palm oil in the world, Sime Darby, not saying that at all. So if you're saying sustainability, you need to make it really clear. Because when Greenpeace asking you what is your sustainability means, especially from the forest perspective, what we would like to see, no deforestation. You can deliver no deforestation palm oil. You can deliver no deforestation pulp and paper product. Is it possible on the ground? Is it possible to make it happen? Yes, Wilmar is committed, just last December. In early 2011, Golden Agri Resources, also Southeast Asian company, commit that. Is this can be happen in the pulp and paper sector? Yes. Last year, Asia Pulp and Paper committing for no deforestation. For many years, Greenpeace is campaigning in the market campaign and then challenging the market company to change. But in the last 7 years, we convinced that the no deforestation also can be happen in the company like here in Southeast Asia in developing countries. I would comment some other thing related with our colleague panelist, April, for example. And this is something that we've been seeing on the ground also. April is just making a commitment last year, early this year, about they calling a sustainability, but in the same times also will still continue to using what they call it mixed tropical hardwood, natural forest timber for their mill, which is what we would like to see is April stop using a natural forest timber for their mill. And this is something that we would like to see no deforestation company. So again, it's not easy. It's not a single silver bullet like the previous panelist saying also, previous speaker saying. But the real sustainability can be happen on the ground, and no deforestation policy and no exploitation policy and the full protection of peatland is very important if we want to solve the haze issue, the forest fire issue in the longer term. So I'll leave it there for discussion, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Buster. Before I open it to the floor and the questions are given to me in the pigeonhole, I think in a way the discussion has already begun among the panelists. In the past panel, Buster noted some have made pledges about no deforestation, no peat, no exploitation. Could I ask the two company representatives of April and Paul, your own experience in terms of making pledges or trying to develop land without opening up sort of forest lands? Is this possible in both pulp and paper and sugarcane?
Well, if I may respond first, from April's perspective, we are very much interested in conservation as much as the NGOs. The issue is how do you get to that destination? As I said earlier, unmanaged land left alone is very much subject to encroachment. As I quoted the example of the natural park in the Riau province, that we contributed 40,000 hectares. It is now 75% encroached, 75%. And last year, during the height of the haze crisis, I took a helicopter and I flew over it. And I saw a lot of burning. And a few weeks later, I went there. I saw a lot of houses and palm trees planted. A natural park being converted to illegally into a palm oil. And there's no management, there's no enforcement. That's why our experience tells us that if you leave the forest alone, the pressures of economic development, population pressures will lead to encroachment. That's why we are very convinced that our sustainable development model, which essentially conserves the high conservation value forests that we have in Indonesia, and for the rest of the areas, we actually reforest it. We don't destroy it. We actually reforest it into plantations. That way, we have created jobs for 90,000 people. We have built infrastructure which allows roads, which allows the community in the area to have greater access to water, to health, to education, to schools. We have uplifted the quality of the life of the people in the region. That way, we take away pressures from them to do illegal logging, to resort to illegal burning. As I said earlier, we planted close to 70,000 hectares of acacia for the community. And through that way, we regularly harvest, we provide them a steady stream of income. So the net result of it is that we are able to conserve 250,000 hectares of high-value conservation areas. If you take a look around, there are not many companies that have done that. And on top of that, we have declared that we are going to do a one-to-one commitment. And we have started the process of restoring the Kampa core. The peatland is no different from other mineral soils area. In fact, by being present there, we actually manage the peatland area much better. Again, our experience shows that in a peatland area, left alone, people goes in there, cut the wood, drag it out, and destroy the water management system in there. We have a project now called, as I said earlier, Riau Ecorastri System. When we first got the concessions, we went in there, we had to restore the water management system. We had to reconstruct it. It costs us money to do it, but we are committed to it in order to preserve the peatland area. And even last September, or only recently, you know, there was a fire that took place there. You know why? Because the community, one of the community went in there, did fishing, and wanted to grill the fish. And in the process, because of the dryness, it caught fire. Now, if left alone, if nobody was there, the fire would have kept burning. But because we were there, our people were there, they called for assistance from our plantations with all the helicopter assets to kill the fire. So we are actually, in our view, contributing to managing the peatland in a more effective way, to conserve as well as to kill the fires, if and when it starts. So that's our perspective. We may disagree with the approach, but at the end, I think our destination is the same. We are talking about conserving, effectively conserving high conservation value forests.
Thank you. Would you like to answer the question?
I will explain location by location because it's different. Start with Thailand. Thailand, we have the total land about 50 million hectares. Half of them is for the agriculture, 25 million hectares. And for sugarcane, we have about 1.6, that's it, million hectares for sugarcane. But rice is about 12 million hectares for rice. And compared to productivity for the yield, as I mentioned, the sugarcane we have about, by average, 60 tons per hectare. By compared to rice for the non-suitable land in the highland, they got only 2 tons per hectare, much different. So for us in Thailand, if we will expand more volume, firstly we increase the yield on the existing land. Secondly, it comes from switching crop from the highland that non-productive for the rice turn to sugarcane. For China, as I mentioned, that no arable land anymore in China. If you want to expand more area for the sugarcane, you have to go to higher land like a mountain. That's not suitable for cost in the future. In Australia, as you know that there is a highly regulation for the environmental there. So we will increase the yield by invest more on irrigation system there. Because irrigation system, there is many systems that suitable. It depends on the water source of water, like implement for the drip irrigation for the no water. If you have a lot of water, you can use a high pressure. If you have some water, you can use a low pressure system. But in Laos is different. In Laos, you have a lot of land available now. Yes, we went there and we do the, after we got the land concession, it's a greenfield project. But all the land concession that we have, we will carve out for the forest. We will not use it. And of course, the big piece of land, it will have some villagers, some people stay there. So we'll work with them that can they move or swap the land from their location to allow our area. Or if they cannot, they don't want, we will let them as our contractor farming. So it's how we complement each other.
So though there are two different industries here, they seem very similar in the way they approach the large concessions. Some will be used for the plantation, others will be used for high value conserved forests, and others will be given over to the community for their use. Now, there were a few questions to pigeonhole. Can I get to them? They're quite specific about the use of peatland, and we've already had a bit of discussion on this. The question asks Pak Busta whether the moratorium announced by Pak SBY, the President of Indonesia, is in fact helpful. You remember that Pak Agus Purnomo at the start pointed out this is one of the commitments by the present Indonesian government. On the other hand, we've had already General Bay say that he thinks that if left to themselves, these will be used anyway and often not managed well. Pak Busta, what do you think?
Thank you. First of all, I think when we're talking about the sustainability, sometimes every time I hear a company talking about sustainability, somehow I feel like this company or that company want to replace the government role, talking about economic growth, talking about social issue, talking about many things. Is somehow that is supposed to be government role to making sure the citizen is get what they need. It's not the company. It's not the company's role. And same also like this. Who's is taking care of the land? Who's taking care of the peatland? If you ask me who's taking government. Government is the one should manage and taking care all the natural resources. And of course somehow, of course the business sector should participate on that, but not making that looks like you the one should taking care of that. Just to respond before I'm going to talking about moratorium, I was there in the 2009 in the middle of April concession, stopping 9 bulldozer of April to chopping down forest and opening the peatland. And that time April saying that is not high conservation value forest, which is we believe we measuring that area is the more than 3 meters deep peatland area in Teluk Meranti 2009. 20 of my friends is being deported because of that action, including me, almost put in the jail, and we believe that is the high conservation value forest area. So that is just one example of the, of the HCVF area that we're trying to prevent that time in 2009 in April concession. About the moratorium, just to be clear, moratorium is only about new permit, not talking about the existing permit. So existing permit will still continue, including, for example, like in the palm oil plantation, there is a Izin Lokasi. Izin Lokasi is the location permit, is coming from Bupati. That is not included in the moratorium. Talking about peatland, that also peatland outside the concession area. But peatland inside the concession area, if that is already given to the company, it will continue to develop. So that's why sometimes people asking why there is a still development on peatland while the moratorium is spent, because moratorium is not covering the existing concession. Yeah, just to be clear. But if that the area outside the existing concession also is protected under moratorium, I would say it's not 100%. We still found, for example, like because if you're talking about palm oil company, it's so many layers of the permission in Indonesia. There is a Bupati or the regency level can give permission also to open the land, and sometimes the national government, they don't know about that, and sometimes also they put that inside the moratorium area. So there is a lot of challenge of this implementation of the moratorium on the ground.
Would you like to respond to that? General, he mentioned April particularly, or leave it? It's up to you. I mean, you may not know the exact.
I think I'll just leave it because
Okay.
at the end of the day, we have a process where we worked out the HCVF maps together with NGOs and other stakeholders. Then it's to communicate to people on the ground who then goes about doing the operations. Obviously, there are some parties who don't agree with it. Well, there's nothing we can do. If they really want, they should participate in the process of deriving the HCVF map. We can't be stopped in our operations by any Tom, Dick, and Harry, so to speak, because of their own individual views about things. Yeah, but we always choose to agree to disagree.
Let's take some questions from the floor before I go back to the pigeonhole. Anyone can be seen through these lights? Anybody? Wave it around a bit. Number 2, yes.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm Mora Supartina from Cikalahari, the network for Riau Forest. Well, we are based in Riau Province in Pekanbaru, and this is my first time listening presentation from Bei Sokyang from April, and maybe there's 2 things that I need to clarify of what you've been said. First is about the when you said that, well, peatland is no different than other types of soil. I mean, by simply saying that, I think it's dangerous, because peatland is very specific, and you cannot just say the way you manage mineral soil should be the same as the peatland, because there are also many research saying that peatland is very specific land that you need to be very careful when you intervene when you want to open a concession on that type of soil. That's one thing. And then the second, when you said that you are also contributing to the sustainable forest management by extinguishing the forest fire, I can share that Indonesia has the regulation stating that all the permit holders should be responsible of what happened in their concession. So if the forest fire happened in your concession, it is your responsibility to extinguish the fire. So you cannot say it's as a contribution to the sustainable forest. I think that's a clarification for 2 things. And then connecting also what Bustar said, I think a high conservation value forest is not new from April from our perspective, but if you ever heard about Semenanjung Kampar, I think based on our assessment, that area is classified as a high conservation value forest. But at the end, that I think that you then continue to clear cut the forest. So now, when you said that you are launching the sustainable forest management, I think I need to make sure that how you assure that it will be different for what happened in the past. Thank you.
So there's several questions here. Could we focus on the peatlands question first? Perhaps for those of us who are not into forests or peatlands, there was another question here in the pigeonhole. It says, draining peatlands, is this the best way to use them or manage them? General Ping?
Okay, thank you for the questions. Okay, I may have oversimplified the peatland management issue a bit. When I said that, it's in the context that, okay, even in the peatland area, we do a HCV assessment. Of course, the HCV criteria is quite different from a peatland versus a mineral soil area. But the approach is broadly similar, okay? So we do preserve the high conservation value forests within the peatland based on that criteria. In terms of fire in the concession, what I meant was that when I observed that fire in the eco-restoration area, if we were not there, that fisherman would have gone to that area, caught a fish, grilled the fish, and started a fire. And nobody would be better, and the fire would have kept burning. But because we had that concession in that area, we were there actively managing it. That's why we could spot the fire and kill the fire quite quickly. In terms of the Kampar area, again, as I said earlier, we look at the whole landscape, and we make assessment of a landscape in terms of conservation value. The fact is that we do have plantations in this peatland area, and those meets the low conservation criteria, so to speak. At the end of the day, in the Kampar, if you look at it, it's a peninsula, right? And we have a ring of plantations around the Kampar perimeter. We call it the Kampa Ring. And the whole objective is to have plantations around the Kampa Ring so that we can secure the Kampa core in terms of protecting it from incursions, from encroachment. We are taking the next step now of having started the eco-restoration in the Kampa core. We will do it and then we will expand that eco-restoration areas to other part of the Kampa core. That way we are going to preserve the Kampa core, the deep peat part of it, in terms of conservation.
Thank you. We're going to try to further the question in terms of the other elements you mentioned. The past, this were the practices. Going forward, how do we know? I think that was one of the points you made in the last part about the forestry. And the topic for this session actually is mapping a green path. So obviously, expectations of companies are changing. If I could talk a little bit more Riau, the fires have been going on there for quite a period. Do you both, who know Riau very well, are things getting better, whether by the government's efforts, or by the community efforts, or by the company efforts? Or are we going to see more or less the same? Are we making a real change there?
Well, first of all, I mean, 2-3 weeks ago, I'm speaking in the C4 event in Jakarta, and I think also I put the op-ed also in one of the Singaporean newspaper, and with a very clear message for the President SBY before he really stepping down as a president. The clear message is that we would like to see full protection of peatland before he stepping down as a president in Indonesia. So why the full protection of peatland is important? Because I believe that Greenpeace believe that the peatland protection is the longer term solution for the forest fire, for the longer term. Of course, in the medium term, there is a lot of things need to be done, and then a need collaboration effort here. I mean, not only, of course, not only government, corporation also need to involve, because corporation already making a profit on that area also. So for the peatland management itself, that this is something that what for the existing plantation on the peatland, for example, that this is something that need to manage carefully. This need to manage carefully.
Okay, Pusa, are things getting better in your view? In Riau, are they getting better on the peatlands or same?
Yeah, well, my friend is coming from Rio. They're just saying sama. So it's yeah,
okay.
Even worse. I mean, even last year, for example, you see the
Okay.
the haze coming here.
So Kiam, are efforts being redoubled by April, the other companies operating in Riau, or you think this is a plateau?
Well, I think obviously we could do better. As I said, we just started on this Kampa core conservation concept with RER. That's only about.
Sorry, what's RER?
That's a Riau Eco Restoration System.
Okay.
And that's only about 20,000 hectares. The Kampa core itself is about 120,000. But obviously it is a new experience for a private company to be doing eco restoration. And we are working with NGOs like FFI and even with local NGOs, Bidara, in terms of community engagement. And once we have some degree of success in that project, we are going to replicate it in the other areas. So we will try and improve, in that sense. And I think things will get better, hopefully.
That's a hopeful message. Number 3, please. There's a hand up there and microphone.
Thank you. Jason Cohen from National University of Singapore. So I really enjoyed hearing from the speaker from Thailand as well, because as you mentioned, 60% of the sugarcane is being burned in general. I'm not saying on yours. And the fires from Thailand are annual events. Every single year since the satellites have been up, we notice the fires in Thailand. And you mentioned as well from Indonesia about help or assistance with mapping. And so I wanted to bring this up. Indonesia, it seems like, is at a crossroads are they going to go the way Thailand has gone, where they've cleared everything and then will be forced to work on, at a later stage, improving their productivity? Or is there a way to leap this bound and to take some of the examples given by our compatriot from Thailand, where one can improve the productivity on the land that's already been disturbed and not to open up more land? Because it seems like there's a crossroads decision here, and I'm wondering if this is something which the parties are taking into consideration. So that way we can learn from the Thailand experience and not replicate it.
Please.
I think definitely in terms of business imperatives, we want to improve the productivity of the land, especially those close to the mill. You know, then the transportation costs in terms of wood from the forest to the mill will be much lower. You know, so that's something which we are looking at very closely, you know, in terms of R&D investment and so forth to improve the productivity of the land.
Chris?
Yeah. 63% is the average for all the sugar cane in Thailand that is a burnt cane. But unbelievable, some sugar mill, because we have about 60 sugar mills right now. Some sugar mills, they have more than 90% burnt cane. One of the reasons is maybe because of in Thailand we still use the hand cutting, manual cutting. Of course, it's difficult to find the labor to do that. So easier for burn and cut it later. The program that we implement is that we will use a harvester to replace, and it will solve also for the labor shortage. And I think that's the way that we for sustainable. But if you use harvester, it's a lot of work that you have to prepare for the cultivation, for the land preparation to use a machine there. But anyway, overall, even it's a high investment of harvester, but it will reduce the cost anyway in the final. And as I mentioned that almost they are the contract farming, so it's easier to manage. We have the GPS mapping all the plot of land that in our contract, so it's ensure that it's not be the forest use of, and also we can track on the productivity by each plot, each contract. Anyway, I agree that it should be the commitment of the company to do that, and in our group also, in the sugar industry, we have the NGO guideline we call is a Bong Sucro standard, and even we are now not a member of this group, but we try to follow their guideline because we trust, we believe that it will lead for the sustainable and good for the environment. Like okay, it's everything that we do have to comply to the law, and it is will comply to the ecosystem, have a EIA access, everything, and no child labor or something that everything that. But one of the things that I would like to mention is a real commitment and is strong commitment that some project that management proposed to our board of directors, and they will ask about this issue, that how you manage the waste, how you do for the social community. If we are not have this measure, they will not approve for the project. They said they don't want the money from the project that have the problem with the social community. I think that's the real commitment of our group to do that.
Thank you. We have about 10 minutes left. Can I ask the three of you to give us a last thought and maybe a question for each of you? Robusta, perhaps working from the forest angle, what's the best thing, or one or two things that the next president of Indonesia could do, in your view, to really conserve the forests while of course, developing enough of the economy to really grow Indonesia with equity. For Kursada, one of the questions that came up on Pigeonhole was, how does your company work with communities? How do we get the community knowledge? You mentioned working with the local small growers. And General Bay, I must tell you that the Pigeonhole is full of questions for you in April. But maybe I could just sum it up this way. The questions are about your maps, about whether you should belong to the World Business Sustainable Development Council. But I'll sum it this way. You yourself said things, I can't remember the exact word, but things can be better. It seems to me that April is on a path that's trying to get somewhere, move forward. What are the next steps that you could imagine April taking in a realistic way while being a business and not a charity, but to do it in a sustainable way? So Buster first and then down this way, is that okay? And of course, if anything else you want to add, please go ahead, just briefly.
Yeah, so again, I would like to maybe just starting with especially Rio, because I think for April, what is need to be done is start to stop clearing forests and start to protect peatland in the real way. So, and then if you confuse what it means, should be on your paper commitment, you can copying what the Asia Pulp and Paper have or Wilmar have and put in the new logo of April and publish that so everybody can see. So that related with the April. So for the Indonesia, in the future Indonesia, of course, most of you know that now is the election time in Indonesia. It's been interesting time for us also. Yesterday, two president's candidates declare in Indonesia. But also I would like to introduce, there is another third candidate of the presidents in Indonesia. So just 3 years ago, Greenpeace is registered president's candidate in the Indonesian Election Commission. Is representing, we call it Raung and Umba. Raung is representing tiger and Umba is representing dolphin. So this is the president's candidate in Indonesia to protect Indonesian forests and ocean. Of course, we would like to see full protection of peatland. This is something is really, really important. And then the extension of the moratorium with the the extended of the coverage of the moratorium is really important to see. Not only covering primary forests but also natural forests. Somehow people thinking like moratorium is like slowing down a business or stopping a business, which is from my perspective is not, because moratorium is trying to fix the uncertainty situation in Indonesia. For most of you who have a business in Indonesia, you will see inside the palm oil concession and you will find coal concession in the same place. Sometimes you will find mining concession in the same place. So there is a situation overlapping concession, and this is somehow need to resolve. So extended of the moratorium. And then of course also the business more and more coming for the no deforestation commitment in the whole of supply chains, not only but including also, for example, financial sector. And I can tell you, no deforestation, growing business with no deforestation is something possible in this region.
I think it's two things. First, about the farmer, the smallholder farmer. Firstly, I think that we because they lack of knowledge, so we work like we have one third of our staff in the company is for to look after the farmer. So we have staff to work closely with them. Secondly, we have the R&D unit that we spend nearly 10 million US for this unit to help to improve any technology that we can help the farmer to improve the yield. And we have to use a demo plot of land before implement so they can see and the result. And another thing that besides the farmer, we also look after the community that near the mills. We initiate like a 3-party committee to work together, the community and the government sector and the mills. We have a committee that work together and meeting every month to get that forum for them to hear that what we have done and any problem that they would like to their concern, and we will get improved for them. And that I think that communication is important.
Thank you, President. Shenope.
Well, I just want to kind of conclude by saying that we are as very much interested in conservation, in protecting forests, in protecting peatland. And we have done that. And in the process, created jobs for 90,000 people, give them a better way of life, access to better health, school, education. And in the process, we have improved their life. Going forward, we are going to further increase our commitment in terms of conservation area to the extent of 1-to-1 ratio, plantable versus conservation areas. So we're very much like, various parties to come and work with us, to fulfill this dream of ours, to improve the life of the people as well as for the planet. Thank you.
Well, I will ask you to join me in thanking all the panelists, including, and of course, General Bay, who has answered so many of the questions. Because just add one thing. Those of you who visited the April website, I think you might note that they have actually put up a number of their maps and other information on the website now.
Yeah, we have also a fire tracker, that helps you track the fires where it is in the whole of Riau province.
So anyway, please join me in thanking all 3 panelists. Thank you.